Welcome to Rainbow Soul Podcast, where our soul astrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Hello. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Rainbow Soul Astrology Forecast, where we try to help you get connected to the stars. Something like that. How's everyone doing as Mars goes direct on this very busy day? Is everybody having a very busy day? I bet you are. Hi, Tracy. How you doing? We're here. We made it. Hi, Mamone. Welcome. Glad you're here. Welcome, everyone. We're glad you're tuned in. We're going to do a little moment of meditation to ground. Try to get centered. Hey, Chelsea. Good to see you. All right. We're just going to take a moment to do this little meditation, and later after this, we'll go through the astrology forecast general for the whole week. And then after that, I'll go through each zodiac sign. It's a very crazy birthday, Alyssa. Oh, Mars did go direct. And usually when it goes direct, it's like a race. I've been in a race all day. So if you haven't been in a race, I wonder if Mars is retrograde in your chart, actually. So anyway, as Mars goes direct, we're all in a race. You can probably feel it already. I'm glad that you're all here. I'm glad that you're tuned in. It's good to have you be part of the group. It's good to be able to communicate with you and connect with you, and I appreciate all of you for tuning in today. And I always like to start out with a little bit of a meditation of sorts so that we can ground and center and be ready and open to the messages that come through. So I hope that all of you will take a moment, if you can, to maybe close your eyes or at least listen in. Maybe put your hand on your heart for a moment. Take a few deep breaths. Ground and center yourself. Take this moment to center yourself. Feel your bottom on the seat, your feet on the floor. And I invite you to imagine yourself outside on a beautiful starry night with a dark sky. And the stars, they seem to go on forever. And the temperature is just right. And Venus is glowing in the sky. I invite you to imagine this little glowing planet. It's not really a star, it's more of a planet. You can always pick it out because it doesn't twinkle. It's a bright, streaming light. Glowing at us, speaking to our hearts, to our connections, love, to what we love about ourselves, what we love about each other, what we love to do, how we like to spend our money. It speaks to all the things that are within you. Maybe even how you make money, your passions. And Venus is fierce right now. She is fiercely turning about in this moment. And from that bright, glowy planet comes a fierce warrior, a female warrior, fierce and ready. Part of her ready to fight. But she might need to review some things first. Her wisdom comes forward in this time of review. And as she gently sways into the waters of Pisces, she recognizes her emotions, her emotional connection, and what drives that fierceness. What is underneath that fierceness? And remembers during this transit that self-sacrifice is not always the answer to winning. And as you feel what Venus means to you in your heart, it's all those loving connections you have, everyone you love, the part of you that you're able to love yourself. And even the things you like to buy, the things you love to purchase, the things you do to make money so that you can live the life you want to live. Venus speaks to all of that. And as we put our hand on our hearts, feel our hearts fill up with that gentle swaying love in the waters of Venus retrograde in Pisces, we know that this transit is for our best interest. And she's just trying to help us stay on track. Feel that love in your heart. Feel that love, that fierce love. That fierce, beautiful love that you have. Feel that in your heart now. And allow that to stay in your heart as you come back to the here and now, back to the present, with your feet on the floor, your bottom in the seat, back to the present moment of here. Wiggle your toes, stretch your fingers, open your eyes. Welcome back, everyone. Well done. Thank you, Bright Hawk.
Well, thank you. Nice meditation. It's a trip to Venus.
A trip to Venus in all her lovely ways.
Right.
So, my friends, if you haven't guessed, Venus is about to go retrograde. Wait a minute, Alice. We just got done this. Okay.
I know. It's nice to have everything direct for a minute, but
Only for a minute.
only for about 6 days, I guess. 5 days, 6 days, whatever we got.
Yeah, like
Sunday
5-6 days.
Sunday's been the event day, it seems to be, right? So Sunday, Mars came direct yesterday. And I think a week ago, it was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago on a Sunday that Uranus came direct?
Oh, I think so. Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I think it might have been 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Anyway.
So here we are for February 24th through March 2nd. And of course, we're going to start on today, which is Monday. And technically, Mars went direct last night, but you're probably really feeling it today. I know I am. Oh, man, what a busy day. It has been a very full day. And if you've probably had a full day to some degree, maybe feeling a little bit like you got to catch up or you don't have the energy to keep up or something like that. But that's part of Mars going direct. So that's part of that energy right now. And you might feel that today, tomorrow, and the next couple of days. But you'll catch up. Don't worry about it. Just take a deep breath and keep moving forward. I think that's the best way to handle when a planet goes direct. Like, is to just...
Well, I feel like we're kind of blessed that we also have a grand trine in Earth today. So that's very grounding. The players, though, are a little not grounding. So you have Uranus and Taurus, which, of course, Uranus is surprise a minute, right? But it's in Taurus, so that's, again, very grounded. South Node in Virgo, and, of course, the moon in Virgo.
Capricorn.
I mean,
yeah. So, yeah, that grand trine in
Earth. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so that grand trine in Earth would just mean that, like, if you had some things to manifest today, you're probably, hopefully, making effort towards that. Hopefully, it's coming together easily for you. As that comes together, Mars, of course, is also going direct, and it's in a trine to Mercury. So I feel like that's really good energy, especially about communicating our emotions and being able to talk to each other and communicate with each other. I just feel like it's really good for that. Even though Mars is in a square to Chiron, I think it's part of our healing. Chiron's also in a square to the moon, which is, of course, emotions. So we're experiencing some emotional healing after that very long Mars transit. I know I have even, that Mars transit, I did two surgeries in that Mars transit. 2 surgeries. Wow. And I finally feel like my gut's back to completely normal. Wow. And I'm able to, because I had my gallbladder removed. And so I was able to get through that. And it's funny because Mars rules surgeries, right? And I've been like avoiding these 2 surgeries for a long time because I felt like I had other things to deal with. And then I also got my ICD implant, which is kind of like a pacemaker, but it doesn't pace me. It just listens to my heart and makes sure I'm okay all the time. And I was noticing today, so I've been having a little discomfort, but I think it's on the heel. It feels better than it did yesterday. And I went for a walk today. And as I was walking home, my heart rate got up and I didn't get concerned. I just took a look and I was like, okay, my heart rate's up. That's okay. I am walking. And then I just called my dog to come back to me. And that was that. It was not what it used to be. So that's what the ICD is to do. It's to help me feel safe in my body. And so it feels like, whew, we went through all that stuff. So whatever you've been through, now there's probably feeling some resolution to that. You're probably feeling that this week. You're going to feel like, oh, finally, gosh, got through that. Whew, geez, okay. I know even my son felt resolved today about his son, about my grandchild, who I've started homeschooling, virtually homeschooling, but homeschooling is still the same. And that is also a great, another, my son's probably feeling resolved about that. So what have you been dealing with in the last, since like maybe the fall, and whatever you've been working with that hasn't been working out very well, and maybe you finally found a solution and you're finally like, I think this is going to work, right? So what is it? Maybe a place to live, maybe it's some relationship, whatever it is, that's you're going to find resolve of that today and this early this week. If you haven't already, you probably already have, by now. You probably already, or at least headed in that direction. Okay. So, and I think with that grand trine, I think that's what that is. It's like that resolution. It's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, because it's rooted also in the moon means it's not going to stick around for the week. It's just going to be today. So really take advantage of that. And I think the sun square Jupiter is also part of the energy that we're feeling, because it's sort of, okay, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? What do you want? Jupiter always asks, what do you want?
And Jupiter's not out of its shadow yet from when it was retrograde.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just getting rolling.
Yeah, it's just starting to move direct. So Jupiter still has some more work to do, some more good luck and blessings to bring us as it goes forward, and that's what it does. So, as we go through the week, you're probably the good news is that it might be a little bit of a quiet week until once we get back in our speed of doing things, we might feel like, okay, I'm finally have enough energy to do insert thing here. You start doing it, something comes through, you start to get those lucky breaks and stuff like that starts to come through. Okay. And that's going to be this week.
Yeah.
So that's what this week is going to feel like. And I feel like there's still a lot of trines to support that. Even with Jupiter and Pluto and the moon and Venus, even as she goes retrograde, I feel like, there's still going to be some lucky breaks early on before she goes retrograde later this week, even though she's in her shadow. And it might be related to what happens in the retrograde, but I don't think it's going to be. Venus retrograde is never as bad as some other retrogrades like Mars and Mercury, in my opinion.
Well, I suppose it depends.
Maybe it's because my Venus is retrograde.
That could be. That's definitely could be true. And remember, Venus rules Taurus, and it also rules Libra. Mm-hmm. And so those are the folks who are going to probably feel it the most. When your ruler goes into retrograde, you sometimes feel like, where'd my mojo go?
Where's it exalted at?
So when it retrogrades, it's going to go from Aries, which is where it is right now, back into Pisces.
Oh, so
it's exalted in Pisces. So whatever happens when a planet retrogrades and changes signs, whatever you thought was going to happen, or whatever you thought was like, I'd be real careful about dating during this time. Frankly, things are going to look very different in a few months. And I
always laugh at anyone that breaks up in a Venus retrograde, because I'm like, it won't last. You'll get back together before Venus, or when Venus goes direct, and that's exactly what usually happens.
Yeah.
So if you have some relationship troubles, it's never a good idea to threaten to end the relationship. But
that's a really bad strategy. That's one of those, you don't go there.
Right. You just don't do that. So, So what you might want to do is just wait and just be aware, because this Venus transit is not that long. Right. Is also what I remember when I looked at it. It's not that long. It's not nearly as
April 13th.
Yeah, but that's not. The Mars thing.
The Mars was just really long.
It's like the longest. Long. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. So this week, it's
not a lot changes on Tuesday. I almost didn't put it in the chart. Mostly what happens, of course, is that the moon moves into Aquarius.
Right. I seen that there was a void moon very early in the morning.
Yeah, it's just for a few hours. If you're on the night shift, maybe you'll have a nice quiet morning as you get off.
Yeah, and then there's another void moon on Wednesday night, and does that go into Thursday morning?
It does indeed.
Okay, so there's a void moon Wednesday night into
So we're getting
Thursday
ready for,
morning.
Yeah, we're getting ready for the new moon. So the new moon is, of course, in Pisces. And so the void begins at 10:04 on Wednesday, and the new moon begins on Thursday. And the void ends at
8:47 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty substantial period of time. So hopefully it means no drama in your world. It means that you taking the time to take good care of yourself, maybe sleep in or have a nice breakfast or a nice morning extra practice. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like with a dark moon, the dark moon and then the new moon in Pisces, it's a real good time to manifest anything, make your wishes, anything like that. Set your intentions for the upcoming transit, even for Venus transit, if you have a feeling what it might be about, especially after I go over everybody's horoscope at the end. If you have a feeling you know what it's about, you probably do at this point. You probably will have some idea of what it's about, okay? And then
so I just wanted to say about the new moon in Pisces. Of course, Pisces is ruled by Neptune. And of course, Neptune was retrograde for a really, really long time, and it's now direct.
Thank God.
The last degree of its rulership in Pisces. So that's going to be a big change this year. So the new moon in Pisces is all about the we community. We're all one in the ocean of emotion. They feel everything. They're likely to communicate based on feelings. They are very intuitive. They have a really high sense of what it takes to get to peace and what people need to hear and see for that to happen. So it
can sometimes be about self-sacrifice.
Yeah,
and sometimes be about illusions and delusions, and sometimes alcohol issues, alcohol struggles with drugs or alcohol is sometimes lies in Pisces.
And of course the moon and the sun, they're conjunct, so they're both squaring Jupiter. So again, Jupiter makes everything bigger, so be careful with your emotions.
Yeah, in a square though, that means that it would be healable. Work through. You can work through it. So if your big emotions are coming through this week, especially Thursday, because the moon is then with the sun at that moment on Thursday, I feel like it's going to just make it stronger. So, and the Pisces moon, it's, if you get some emotion strong, just know there's a resolve to it. Okay. On Thursday, there's a resolve to it. And Friday, Venus stationed. Yeah, she's stationed all week, isn't she? Yeah.
And conjunct.
I was just looking to see if it was stationed all week, and it is. So Friday, and Venus is still. So hopefully you're not initiating any new work or new jobs or new ways of making money. Hopefully you're not trying new things. It's not really a good time for that. Also, Venus station like that, it can sometimes like new relationships can feel like they're on pause or something. You're like, why didn't he message me back? Okay, like that kind of thing. That's Venus stationed, and then Venus is going to go retrograde, which means that you're going to review whatever you had to do with money or with relationships. Could also be about self-love, but it's usually about one of those three topics related to one of those three. Okay, so it could be about self-love. It could also be about, money or other relationships, particularly romantic relationships.
Wow. Yeah.
And in Aries, it can be very fierce. But she's going to go backwards when she does go retrograde next week. When Venus goes retrograde next week, it's gonna go backwards into Pisces. And I feel like that's going to, there could be a resolve into unconditional love. You know, there could be an issue or whatever in relationships. So hang in there, because maybe you're going to discover how to have unconditional love. And that's sometimes, you know, you learn that sometimes by doing. You think you have unconditional love for someone, but we don't always. And I think that's a learned thing, unconditional love. You know?
Yeah, it definitely. I don't think you get there without doing some work, for sure.
Yeah.
And I like that Venus is sextiling Jupiter.
That's good. Yeah.
That seems
especially
really good
since
to me.
Jupiter is direct and finally moving along
Right.
in Gemini. So Jupiter is transiting Gemini now. It's bringing blessings in, and it is sextile to that stationed Venus, even as it goes direct on Sunday. Now there is a void moon on Saturday morning,
Right.
for about 2 hours ish.
Yeah.
Just under 2 hours.
So if you're joining us for the first time and you've never heard me explain what a void of course moon is, it's this is a good example this week. The charts don't look that different day to day. The only thing that's really changing dramatically is the moon. And when the moon moves a sign, we all know a moon takes a month, right? 28 days. And then when the moon changes zodiac signs, which is about every 2.5 days, there's a void moment where it kind of takes a breath between, okay, the energy between Pisces and Aries is very different. Very different. One is a water sign, one is a fire sign. It makes a lot of sense that you'd want to take a breath between those two energies. They're very different energies. So that moment, that breath, that space between is called the void. And in the void, of course, of the moon is when the moon is at its least amount of energy. It's at its weakest, waning. And so what happens is that those moments become moments where we recommend you take a break, you do self-care, you breathe, you go for a walk in the forest, you meditate, you do something that is chill, and that you don't make it a time to initiate a launch of something, and you want to know that it's not a great time to try to muster a lot of energy. It's the opposite. So what's the opposite? Well, if there's somebody you have to deal with on a regular basis who's always dramatic and takes more time than you want to give, working in that time during the void of course moon can help that go really quickly.
So there's a perfect void of course moon there on Saturday morning from 8 to 10, almost 10 Mountain Time. And, so you just convert that to your time zone. You can also always look up the void of course moon. There are charts online that you can get.
It helps if you get it in your own time zone. So,
yep.
So it's a good thing to know about. And we've done things like travel during a void moon where it was really chill, no drama. And we were in the airport when the void ended, and you could slowly feel like the energy coming back on to the point where it was just, back to a whining, hissing, loud thing by the time we left the airport. So it's,
you can feel it go direct.
Sometimes you feel it more
void
than other times, for sure, because it's the moon.
I think the longer it's in void, the more you feel it when it comes out, because you kind of get like, during that void time, you're like, and then it's like that for like all day or something. And then like, as soon as it comes out, you're like, oh my God, relax everyone, at least for me anyway. My moon's in Libra, so I love everything that's harmonious.
And then the other big headline of the week,
Sunday, Venus retrograde. Now it's been stationing all week, so pay attention to what's happening in those topics that I mentioned about Venus this week. So that's relationships, love and relationships, that also like things like money or work, how you make money, how you spend money, anything like that that's going on. You're going to want to pay attention to that. And, anything also to do with self-love, self-esteem, self-love, those kinds of things. You're going to want to get in touch with those things. I think that those things are really important. It may also have something to do with like women in your life, or femininity or feminism, things, those kinds of things. And I think on Sunday when Venus goes retrograde, you probably are going to notice it, particularly if you have any placements in Aries, or if you have strong Taurus or Libra placements, you'll probably feel it because Venus rules those signs. I'll also go through the horoscope here in just a moment.
Right.
And we'll be focusing on Venus retrograde because I think that's like the most important thing. The good news is that you should not make any rash decisions in Venus retrograde, particularly in relation to relationships. Just wait and see what happens. Don't make any decisions. And then also with Venus retrograde, with work or how you make money, try not to make too many spending. If you can't, I understand. And then also like be aware of style and haircuts and makeup and things like that. You may feel compelled to change things or something, but you might not want to do that while Venus is retrograde.
Or you might change your mind in late April.
Because then by the time like you don't want to like do anything that you might regret later. Okay. Yeah. That's all I'm saying is like, like just be careful of that. Okay. Especially when it comes to like looks or beauty or style. Okay. Because that's a Venus thing. All right. So those are the kinds of things you want to be careful of in Venus retrograde. I wouldn't make any big decisions. I try not to make big decisions during a retrograde. Okay. Like that's kind of like my big thing. So Bianca, you're pretty fatigued for a Monday. That's because Mars went direct. So it's running you ragged today. I understand. You probably feel like you've been trying to race all day, right? Hey, Chelsea. Chelsea said they left a toxic job last week. Congratulations.
That really takes a lot of courage.
Such a big deal. Oh no, Kit said, oh crap. I already regret cutting my own hair this morning. Oh no. Oh yeah, my grandson got his hair cut and he's doing the same thing. So you're not the only one.
Remember, it keeps on growing.
It always grows back. That's what I told him this morning. He's like, yeah, I don't like it. And I was like, well, it grows back, bud. It grows back. Yeah. So at least this it grows back.
This too shall change.
That's Venus retrograde for you. So, don't get on yourself too bad about it.
Yeah. Try not to launch into, makeovers or I want to redo my closet this month or something. Not the time, Yeah. You may suddenly decide one color is great, another color is not. And 2 months from now, you're going to be like, oh my God, what the hell happened to me? Why did I do that? This is one of those times where we just want to warn you, it's great to ponder. It's great to consider. It's great to think about.
Just wait till Venus goes direct.
But an impulse buy that you might later go, what was I thinking? I don't even like this.
Right. Yeah.
So stuff like that.
Yeah.
Avoiding the big shops or whatever it is that.
Yeah, definitely be careful about shopping for anything in style. Like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like new wardrobes, things like that. Don't do it.
Just hold off on that.
Yeah, don't try to fix it, Kit. Just let it be. Just let it be. Just let it be. Let it grow back in. And then when Venus goes direct, you'll find out from us. It's in April.
April 13th.
And then just go and get it cleaned up.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh man. Kit said that they watched a YouTube video on cutting layers. Oh no. Oh no. I'm not sure cutting your hair is ever a good idea.
That's funny.
Now one side is not so good.
Oh.
Shoot.
During
Wow.
COVID, when we were all cutting each other's hair, and suddenly it was like, whatever we're spending on hairdressers, they deserve it.
Right. Right.
This is harder than it looks,
Well, Alyssa, it will mostly it won't be. You can make big changes, but don't make any decisions in relation to making money if you can, unless you have to. You might be forced to,
That's
or
life,
don't end any relationships and don't start any relationships. Just kind of put it everything like that kind of stuff on sale, on pause. That's all. It's a Venus. It won't have everything because, like, let's say you just got a new house, you're moving, and because Mars is going direct, that's great. You should definitely do that. But don't buy a new wardrobe right now. Don't do that.
If you have Venus retrograde in your chart,
Yeah, that might
you
be.
want to speak to what that means usually?
Well, I have Venus retrograde in my chart. A lot of times now we call that afflicted. Venus retrograde or Venus afflicted, which means it's in a sign it's not comfortable in, or it's not aspected well. It's got a lot of red lines going to it. Or it's retrograde, or all of those things. Can sometimes mean that you might struggle with self-esteem. You might struggle with abuse, particularly if you are born with female body parts. You might have experienced some sort of assault or abuse of any kind, including in your childhood, all of that. And then what's okay though is what happens is Venus in your what we call your progressed chart. Okay, so your progressed chart is a chart that indicates who you are today, because you're obviously not the person you were when you were born, right? So if Venus is retrograde in your chart, Venus retrograde might, like, usually for me, Venus retrograde is not that big of a deal, maybe because Venus is retrograde in my chart. So it's not that big of a deal. But sometimes I'll notice that my old habits of low self-esteem might come up a little bit. And I'll be like, gosh, I haven't felt that in forever, or what feels like forever, but it's actually just been since the last Venus retrograde, because Venus retrograde somehow triggers those parts of me. So usually I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I know how to deal with it, and I just meditate it away or yoga it away. But I've resolved my Venus. So my Venus was born retrograde. I grew up with horrific trauma. I was abused and assaulted and the whole nine. And then I began to resolve that trauma. And I had to come from the lowest self-esteem you can imagine. And now I'm mostly pretty secure in myself. I mean, I still have insecure moments, but I'm not. Okay. And so that's the difference. That's what happens with Venus. So if you're born with it in retrograde and you're still young, don't give yourself a hard time. If you're older and you're looking at it and you're like, my Venus is retrograde, but I don't have low self-esteem, well, anymore. You probably used to have it, but you've overcome it now.
So this is the part where I want to say, remember, we never suffer for no reason. And Venus retrograde can often indicate early childhood suffering. But it's almost always, if you wait long enough and if you get that perfect amount of distance that gives you wisdom from experience, you look and you realize, damn, that sucked so bad, but it really made me who I am. Now I have a backbone of steel, or I'll never let somebody take, do the things, whatever it is. But I just want to say, we don't suffer for nothing. There's usually a reason when we came into this world and we agreed to things we would consciously can't even imagine. And then life changes because of it. So I just want to put that out there, because Lots of people have Venus retrograde. Hollis does. I don't, but that's what it means.
And the thing is that I don't want to like do any spiritual bypassing or anything like that. Spiritual bypassing is if we use spirituality to undercut or dismiss what you've been through, or to say that it's okay because it's in your chart. It doesn't make it okay. Okay. It doesn't make the abuse that happened to me okay. No, that's not true. But what I will say is I'm grateful for going through it. And as a result of going through it and resolving it on the other side, I'm stronger than most people, because most people haven't been through what I've been through. And usually when I'm faced with something, I'm like, yeah, well, it ain't killed me yet. So here we go. Okay. So like I am strong because I'm resilient, and that's how resilience works. And, so that's what we're saying. I'm not saying it's okay for whatever happened to you. If something happened to you when you were young and your Venus is afflicted, and you're looking at that right now and you're going, Hollis, are you saying? I'm kind of saying that maybe it was planned this way, and you can choose to believe that or not believe that. But whether you planned it or not doesn't mean it's okay. It's never okay. I think abuse is wrong, even if I did agree to it before I was born. And I think it was wrong for those people to make those choices to abuse me. I think a different choice could have been made, but they didn't make that choice, and we're still healing the world. And that's how I feel about it. You don't have to take on that belief system, but that's how I feel about it. Okay. And it's a terrible thing that happened, and those are awful people. Those are awful actions. I don't like to say awful people because I don't believe in evil people. So that's just my belief system. And I'm not angry at them anymore. Okay. I've let that go. I'm not angry, but I do think abuse is wrong. Okay. So I'm just going to say that just because some things. Okay. So, Alyssa said, sorry, should have said no big changes to appearance, relationships, or money. That's right. Unless you absolutely have to. And you might have to in Venus retrograde. Like right now, I'm having to plan a trip for May, and I'm kind of like, I have to spend the money. What do you want me to do? If I wait, I might not have a bride, might not have a place to stay. I got to book the Airbnb, right? Okay. Or I'm going to end up staying in a place I don't want to stay. So, yeah, so you might just have to play it safe to the best of your ability. You have to live your life. You have to do things sometimes, and sometimes that's what the transit is about. It's meant to make you review those things. Okay. So as we get on to this, the horoscope. So what I'm going to do, the best thing to do is look at your sun, moon, and rising. And I'm going to go through each zodiac sign. And if you have the sun, moon, and rising in those signs, you might want to pay attention. You may also want to look and see where your Venus is. Venus is the female symbol with the circle with the plus sign under, it's the female symbol. So you should see that somewhere in your chart. And if you see it here on what I'm sharing here, which is my AstroGold software, you can see it's in the first house here in Aries, and it's retrograde. So this horoscope is for this week for Aries, sun, moon, and rising. Aries, I want to say your identity, Venus is going retrograde. This is going to be self-love. This is going to be about you realizing something about yourself, maybe recognizing what parts of you maybe are a little extra fierce, or something about you that maybe you're not too crazy about that might need to change. And the good news is, Aries, is that it's going to go backwards into Pisces. So in this time, please take this moment, please take this time, these next, for March and into early April, and we're headed into March now. We're just a few days away from March. And as you go through March, take this time to take some self-reflection, do some self-love, because when Venus goes into Pisces, she's going to teach you some self-love. Okay. Unconditional self-love, which is great news. Okay. So Venus, So Aries, just take care of yourself, do some self-care, but you may notice that your own personal emotions, maybe your identity in a relationship or your identity related to money or even your identity related to your looks, any of those things can definitely go on here, okay? But it's going to be how you identify how you look or how you see things in a relationship or whatever your money situation is, okay? So that's for Aries, sun, moon, and rising. And then we're going to move ourselves right on out to Taurus. Now, Taurus, let me just say this, that Taurus, your ruling planet is Venus. So I assure you, you will feel this. It will not go unnoticed, but the thing about it is that you may not have seen it coming. Okay, so it's going to kind of come out of nowhere, and you're going to be like, oh man, you might have an unexpected expense. There might be something to do with an institution like a hospital, maybe a hospital bill, maybe it's something to do with institutions, or maybe it's something to do with maybe hidden enemies or psychic abilities or self-sabotage. So Venus, this isn't a sort of hidden part of you. So you may not see it. Sorry, Taurus, you may not see it until it happens. Okay. But it will resolve by the time we get into April, mid-April, it will resolve, and then you'll start to feel better. So it's not that long of a transit, but just be aware that it's probably going to come out of something that you didn't expect. Okay? It's going to come out of some unknown place. And so that's for Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. Now, as we move on to Gemini, oh, Gemini, this is going to have something to do with people you know, people that influence you. And right, I'm sorry to like kind of stumble on my thing right now. I just happen to know that Donald Trump is a Gemini, and I'm like going, oh, this is where he starts to get backstabbed. Okay. So, yes, you could get backstabbed. Yes, a friend that was once a friend will become maybe not so much of a friend anymore. Maybe you're not going to want to be around that person. You're not going to like their influence. You're going to question that influence. And that's probably a good thing, because Venus retrograde it means you're going to kind of, there's going to be some sort of relationship or something that you got to step back from. Okay. So, and it's probably going to be a friend, most likely, or somebody that has major influence over you. It could be a boss at work, or something like that. But it's most likely to be like a friend or an acquaintance or someone that you know. So that's for Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. Watch out for those people you love to keep close to you, because Gemini usually has a couple people kind of close to them. And in this time, you may suddenly decide that that person that had huge influence on you, maybe you're not so great. You're not feeling so great about them right now. Okay. So hang in there. Gemini, just know it's all for good reason. Maybe Spirit wants you to step back from that relationship. Okay. Now this is for Cancer. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. Cancer, you're probably going to notice something in your work in the world, okay? So something to do with your work in the world. Something's going to happen, maybe with your boss, could also happen, but it's going to have something mostly to do with your work in the world, with your career, with how you present yourself in the world. Even if you don't make money, there's something that you do in the world. Something that you offer in the world maybe could not go so well. Could mean that you don't make as much money at work for some reason, or maybe that raise didn't work out quite the way you expected, or something like that. Or maybe you've been hoping for a promotion and that probably won't come through for you, Cancer. So I just want to say, hang in there, Cancer. It will happen. But it could be a financial type of thing, especially because it's related to work. Okay, so that's for Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. It will have something to do with work. And then on to Leo. So this is for Leo, sun, moon, and rising. This is going to have something to do with your spirituality, you're going to have an awakening, an awareness of things. You're going to have like a spiritual awakening or something to do with higher learning. It could also have something to do with legal business. There might be something you have to review in legalities, particularly if it has something to do with money. So this is for Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Leo, it's going to have something to do with either legal matters, or it could have something to do with your work in the world. Okay. And so sorry, not your work in the world, your spiritual awakening. So this is going to have something to do with your spirituality, higher learning, could like college or anything if you're involved in that, or legalities. So there could be some review for legalities. And hopefully there could be a delay with the money that you're owed or something like that. Especially with legalities. Hopefully you've already gotten through your legal matters before Venus goes retrograde on Sunday. Okay, so that's for Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So Leo, hang in there, especially with those legal matters. And you could have a spiritual awakening, maybe around self-love. Learn to love yourself a little bit better. That could be really good for you. All right, so now Virgo. Oh, Virgo, this might have something to do with other people's money or sex, death, and taxes. So whatever those parts of you that are dealing with other people's money or taxes, it's tax season. It's very simple. Oh, that makes me and Brighthawk go, oh no. I'm a Virgo sun. She's a Virgo rising. Oh man. We're both going, uh-oh, right? Okay. So that's taxes. So if you're doing taxes, they could be expensive. And so that's the eighth house. Okay. That's probably I'm going to just guess it's taxes because it's April. You know what I'm saying? Like the timing is like it's got to be taxes. Yeah, so it's probably going to be taxes. Could have something to do with maybe sex or death or taboo subjects or other people's money. But probably going to be taxes in some relation. Okay, just because of the time of year that it is. So that's for Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So just go slow, take your time, try not to get too wound up in it, and try not to let it get you down. I always say it's only money. And it's sometimes easy to say that, but it really is just money. It's not. Life goes on, and we learn to do without or do less or whatever, or make more or whatever has to happen. And but it probably will have to do with money and taxes. All right. And then as we get to Libra, this is your sun, moon, and rising. Libra, sun, moon, and rising. Oh, Libra, you love relationships. You love being in relationships with others of all kinds, business relationships, friendships, love relationships. All of those relations are so important to you. They're so valuable to you. And you could suddenly feel like the target. You could suddenly feel like someone doesn't like you very much. And that's hard for Libra. I understand Libra moon here. I get it. But Libra, it's okay. Just learn to let things roll off. And you know what? All things will come around. And as Venus moves backwards into Pisces, I feel like, yeah, it could be about self-sacrifice, but be careful not to do that. Instead, try to go into the exalted of Pisces, which is going to be, so in March, try to harvest some self-love. Even though just because one person doesn't like you, or even 20 people don't like you, or even 50 people hate your guts, it doesn't matter. You can still love yourself, and learning to love yourself unconditionally, even if you screwed up, it's okay. Okay, Libra? So if you're having some relationship issues, don't be surprised there. Don't make any rash decisions. Go slow. Try to pay attention to what might need to shift. And I would wait until Venus goes all the way into Pisces in April, and wait till she goes direct in April to make any decisions if you can. Okay. But some of the decisions might be made for you, and that's relationships. All right, Venus. So I'm sorry. All right, Libra. So just be careful there, because Venus, and that also goes for like outfits or anything like that. Don't do it. Okay. Don't, because Libra loves style and Venus rules Libra. So Libra, don't buy any new clothes. Don't try to change your outfits. Oh my gosh. I was just thinking of my clothes today. So I'm just saying, Libra moon over here. Okay. So don't change anything until late April. All right. So now, as we move on to Scorpio, this would be for Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Now, Scorpio, Scorpio, this is going to be about your day-to-day life. What's happening with you day-to-day, or maybe your work or whatever you do day-to-day, Scorpio. This is going to like kind of shift that somehow. Somehow that's going to shift in a way that you're going to have to get used to, or find some other way to deal with, or try to figure out a way to make it better somehow. And I think you're going to do it. I think you're going to figure it out. And just know that when Venus gets into Pisces, it will be exalted. So I feel like that's like when you'll probably have the aha moment. So while it's in Aries, it could be very frustrating. But then as it moves backwards in April, like in late March and early April into Pisces, you'll probably feel some relief. So try not to get too agitated with it, Scorpio. I understand this isn't exactly your favorite thing to be dealing with, but I feel like you'll be able to navigate this to the best of your ability. All right. And so this is your day-to-day life, your work, okay, or whatever you do day to day, every day, whatever that has to do. And that's Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. All right. And now we'll move on to Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. So Sagittarius, this is going to be happening in your family of origin, or your home. Okay, so something could happen at home you got to pay to fix, or something else could happen financially that doesn't feel so great in relation to home. Okay, and that could also have to do with your family of origin or your parents. And so it could be related to money. It could also be related to love and relationships with those people, or the love and relationship in your home somehow, or maybe even the love of your home. Maybe you don't love it so much or something like that. Okay. But it will definitely have something to do with your home, your family of origin, and the home you live in. All right, Venus. So that's the end of this week. And that's for Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. Now, Capricorn, this is Sunday, Monday. This is going to have to do with your community, with your siblings, with your communication, or something like that, Capricorn. This probably have something to do with your siblings. So there could be some issues with your siblings, or your communication, or the community that you're in. There could be some issues that kind of hang things up a little bit. That could be frustrating for you, especially your relationships with siblings, or your relationships with community, or things related to money and them. All of that could be very frustrating for you in the coming days. At the end of this week, really, Sunday, Monday of next week. And just hang in there, because like I said, it's all going to change, and you'll probably find unconditional love for your sibling there when Venus gets back into it, hopefully. But I would just wait before I make any rash decisions. Don't go telling your brother you never want to talk to them again, or something like that. Like, it's probably not a good thing. All right, Capricorn. Now for Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. This is going to have definitely, absolutely, certainly something to do with money. Okay, Aquarius, I don't know what's happening with money, but maybe you have to pay money. Maybe you have to pay money to the tax man, but somehow You might lose money. You might spend money on something you don't necessarily want or something like that, Aquarius. So Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. Be careful where you're spending your money. Pay attention. Go slow, especially until the end of April, until mid to end April when Venus goes direct, because, you know, you just want to be careful where you're spending your money. So this is your little heads up. Be careful where you're spending your money or how you're spending money on yourself or what your values are in relation to that. Now, for Pisces, Pisces, this is also going to have a lot to do with your identity. You know, Venus is going to be coming back in there. This is going to be about your self-love and your self-sacrifice. Try not to sacrifice yourself too much there. It might have a little to do with money, but probably not. It'll probably have more to do with your identity of who you are and how you identify yourself and how much you love yourself. Maybe you're learning to love yourself. And you know what, Pisces? I think we have to learn to love ourselves. So, you know, don't get down on yourself too much and try not to sacrifice yourself for others. It's really not a good way to be in service. Hopefully you can learn from your opposing sign, Virgo. There's good ways to be in service, and usually Virgo is pretty good at it, pretty good. But you know, you don't have to sacrifice yourself for others. You don't have to do that. Although sometimes we feel like we have to, eh? So I get it, Pisces. Hang in there. This is going to be about your identity. It could also have something to do with your looks or your style or something like that. You might decide you want to change it. Don't do that, okay? Just wait. Just wait, okay? Just don't do it. Wait until the end of wait till April. Okay. So, let's see. Let's see here. So, I think I'll wait a week to complain to my mechanic that he has taken way too long and cost me a lot more than he said. I don't know, Kit. You might as well just get it started now. You can start that now. Because Venus is in its shadow this week. So you could start it now. Okay, and Alyssa said, yeah, I've got a trip next month, but everything has been paid for. So when you're on the trip, Alyssa, don't overspend. Be careful not to overspend while you're on the trip. Like, set a budget and try to follow it. All right. Venus, Bianca, your Venus is in the 6th house. So, you know, this is making, hopefully it's not afflicted though. And you can make money in day-to-day life. Okay, because that's eventually you will get better at doing that if it is afflicted. Does it have any red lines going to it, is what I'm saying. Barbara said, I've been looking into myself more just today. It's been quite a strong feeling. Aries rising. See what I mean? Yeah, it's going to probably be a lot about your self-identity, Barbara. You're probably going to have a lot of interesting stuff happen. Libra sun, literally said to someone last night, I feel like you just see the negative things about me. Oh no! I don't feel anything positive from you. I feel like you hate me. Oh my gosh. That's okay, Barbara. It's fine that you said it. Maybe it needed to be said. It's not like you said, I never want to speak to you again. You just spoke your truth. That's okay. That's okay. Maybe that needs to be visited while Venus is retrograde. Okay. So, yeah, so that could happen. Spot on. Oh my gosh. And Barbara said, finding myself and seeing how others see me, is this something that seems to happen more deeply after 40? Yes, because there's transits that actually create that, particularly Chiron returns in your 40s, in your late 40s. That's why I say to people, you should see an astrologer at least once a year, if not twice a year, and definitely before you make any major decisions like buying a house, taking a new job, leaving a job, relationships, all of those things or any financial choices. You should look at the astrology. You should make an astrology choice, an astrological choice. And if you're going through spiritual awakenings or you want to explore your third eye, all of those kinds of things are good reasons to see an astrologer, including health. Health. If I go for surgery, I want to look at my astrology. I look at my astrology pretty much every day, but I had two professional astrologers take a look at my chart before I went in for heart surgery. Two separate astrologers, unrelated, but one is really good for picking dates for surgeries, and the other one, Cameron Allen, he's a holistic astrologer, a medical astrologer. So there are astrologers for every topic you can think of, and it's the whole, everything that has to do with your life is in your astrology chart, I assure you. Okay. And I think that astrology is the number one predicting tool to help you deal with life, period.
Yep.
I don't know how you do life without it.
Right.
All right. That's why I do these reports, I do these reports so that you guys can understand how important the astrology is to you. Now, I pulled 3 cards for today, and I'm looking at it going, of course, Venus is going retrograde. So the first card might give you a little hint as to what's going on for you. This is the King of Wands. Now, the King of Wands is very black and white, very this or that. This is the way it goes. This is the way it is. You can see this guy's on a motorcycle smoking. It just makes me think of, I know exactly. Now, remember what was just happening the other day with my self-esteem and me feeling like somebody was saying something not so nice about me. And I was pretty sure he was, because he's my ex, because I can, anyway, I doubt he's watching this. So I'm just saying, this looks like my ex. Anyway, just saying. So this is about that person, that person that maybe doesn't belong in your life. Maybe that toxic person, maybe that person that maybe you need to push out or already pushed out or don't want to be involved in for whatever reason. This is the Knight of Wands. This is that intention to move away from that black and white thinking. This card always makes me think of a toxic person. I feel like their intention isn't so great. Okay. And so this is in the past though. So someone from the past maybe could come back, particularly if you have like the South Node in Aries or Pisces. You can look for the South Node. It looks like a little horseshoe. And sometimes the South Node doesn't show up, but the North Node does, which looks like an upside down horseshoe. The South Node is always exactly opposite. Okay. So, the 8 of Pentacles here, this is the here and now. And this person is just doing their work and getting their work done and showing their work off. And I think this is the important thing to be in, to just focus in on your work, regardless of that toxic person you might be dealing with, or even that part of you. Even everybody has a negative, toxic part of ourselves that maybe we've tried to shed. Like, even me, I told you, sometimes I still have insecure moments, okay? And that happens to everybody. And the thing is that we have to honor it. We have to, and I do. I tell Bright Hawk about what I'm feeling and how I'm thinking, and then she tells me that's not true. And so hopefully you have a supportive friend that can listen, okay? And then this here is you doing your work. Just buckle down and do your work. A lot of times I distract myself from terrible things happening in the world by doing my work. Can you believe that? I know it seems odd. Maybe it makes me into a workaholic. I don't think so, because I still pay attention to my spouse and try to make room for other things. But I feel like it's hard sometimes to focus. But when I can focus, I can divert my focus from some toxic individual or toxic situation or whatever to my work. And I think that this is what this is about. And just let the work show who you are. Okay? Especially if you're dealing with a toxic individual. Okay? Just do your work and go forward. And it doesn't have to be work that you do for money. It could be work that you do for other things or whatever else you bring to the world. Or just be yourself and be who you are. And just hold steady in that. Okay? Especially as we go forward, because, you might get a little bit of a broken heart. And that's what this card is about. This is the 10 of Swords, and this is about having a broken heart. This is about someone hurting you. This is about someone backstabbing you. And that's kind of Venus retrograde. Just saying. It can happen. And so I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to let you know that when Venus goes retrograde, there might be somebody that backstabs you. And if they do, remember the toxic situation, because that's what this reading is saying. It's saying just because someone is toxic, just because you have a toxic situation with someone and they do something inappropriate and you're just going about being yourself, doing what's right for you, and then you get a broken heart somehow, just be aware that that broken heart might be meant to be. And maybe you're meant to shed that toxic person. Maybe you're meant to work through that problem with that person you love dearly. Maybe you're meant to talk it out. Maybe you're meant to find some other resolution or deeper understanding of each other, because I believe in that too. I don't think you have to end a relationship just because there's some toxic traits. I think there's other ways to work through it, especially if both people are open to it. Now, if one person's not open to change, well, you can't do anything about that, but you can work through change, okay? And sometimes that does mean it's painful, but once you get on the other side, it's better, okay? So Venus retrograde is not happening to torture you. It's happening to make sure those toxic relationships are out of your life. And that's what the cards are saying. All right?
Wow. It's quite a reading.
Thanks.
Well, hopefully you have a great week. Do we have any more comments we need to address?
Not that I see.
You're welcome. We appreciate you. I'm so glad you guys ask questions and interact, because it's really fun to have the dialogue with you and be able to illuminate anything that might be a question.
Yeah, Alyssa did say that she's a Pisces sun and definitely been working on my self-love and not self-sacrificing so much. Great job. I know it's hard. It's really hard, especially for Pisces. Good grief. I'm channeling my late husband, who was a Virgo. Great. Virgo's better, a little bit better at service without self-sacrifice when it comes to the self-sacrificing. Virgo's opposite of Pisces. Gemini moon, I literally cut someone off that I thought was a friend, but my intuition was screaming differently, and he's definitely showing his true colors now. Yeah, see?
Exactly.
Yeah, see, it's probably necessary that happens for you right now, Alyssa. And, you know, it's funny. It's a weird thing how astrology works for us. We can come to a deeper understanding that everything, and no doubt, and that's why that saying is so famous in astrology. It's actually the end of a poem. The poem had nothing to do with astrology, but people quote the poem in astrology all the time. No doubt the universe is unfolding exactly as it should. And that becomes a belief system. And so even if you don't know exactly what's happening in the universe, you tend to go, okay, so this probably has something to do with the stars and stuff. What am I supposed to learn from this?
That's the right question.
All right.
Well, best wishes. I hope you have a great week. Thanks for listening to Rainbow Soul Astrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye. Have a good week.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soul Astrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soul Astrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planet, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.